Are you looking for the perfect bracelet for a loved one? Would your man be interested in a personalized keyring from his children? Are you looking for the best priced jewelry, whether it be a necklace, ring, earrings, bangle, or even more? Look no further than Crafted Arts. Crafted Arts is a local business based in Barry within the Vale of Glamorgan, and they have a range of all the perfect items you need. If it's for the perfect gift for an anniversary, or maybe it's for someone's birthday, maybe something for Christmas, or you wanted to give someone that perfect gift that will last a long time, Crafted Arts is the business for you. If you want to know more or see what they have in stock, then you can visit them locally at 29 High Street, Barry, Vale of Glamorgan, CF62 7EB, or you can go onto their website at www.craftedarts.co.uk. You can even email them at info@craftedarts.co.uk, or maybe just give them a call at 07789 94248. Trust me, it's worth it for the perfect gift. The best thing about Creative Space is that we don't just want to encourage people in being creative in TV, film, or even theatre. We also want you to be creative in a variety of other things as well. So do you want to have experience in making jewelry? Do you want to pick up a hobby but do not know what to take or where to start? Then look no further than the Vale Jewelry Workshops. Vale Jewelry Workshops provides the best experience in teaching you how to make the best sterling silver jewelry. They will help you make a range of silverware including rings, bracelets, and many more pieces. You will learn the basic silversmith skills such as soldering, texturing, shaping, and lots more. Not only do the workshops provide the experience for adults, it also provides the best experience and fun for children as well. So if you want to learn on how to make sterling silver jewelry, and if you're very interested, go onto their website at www.valejewelryworkshops.co.uk or get in touch with them via email at info@valejewelryworkshops.co.uk or even phone them at 07789 794248. Hey guys, how's it going? And I'm back once again on Creative Space Podcast with another brand new episode for you today. And today's guest on the show is none other than Martin Motnik. He is the band member of the German heavy metal band Accept. I love Accept. If you haven't heard of them, then what are you doing? Get onto Spotify, YouTube right now. Listen to Balls to the Wall, or listen to their brand new album which has been released this year called Humanoid. And one of my favorite songs ever on that album is Frankenstein and Man Up. I really enjoyed those songs, but then again I enjoyed all the other songs. But Martin and I sit down to talk about the love of music, the love of heavy metal, how he got into Accept, how he performed with the likes of Wolf Hoffman, who has been part of Accept since day one, how he met a lot of famous band members and other bands and touring across the world. We talk about dogs as well. We talk about the love of dogs. We talk about a lot of things. And without further ado, I got to get into this episode for you here. It's me, I'm Martin Motnik, on Creative Space Podcast. No, thanks for doing this. How's it going though with you're touring at the moment, if that's right?
Well, we're kind of semi-touring. We're playing summer festivals, which are usually on the weekends.
Okay.
And so during the week, I'm off, and which is great because I have a lot of time to spend with my family, which are still in Germany. So I'm actually in my old bedroom right now, where I grew
amazing. up. Good. But when you when
my
you did
parents' house,
when you so whereabouts in Germany are you then? Well, where did you grow up?
I am from a city. It's called Ludwigshafen, and it's an industrial city. It's in southwest of Germany. It's about an hour south of Frankfurt. It's not too far from France. It's kind of like 45 minutes away. But then mostly, actually, the region is more known for its wine. So we have a lot of wineries and little villages where they make wine. That's what it's mostly known for, like Riesling and stuff. That's from here. So the city itself is very industrial. It's not very pretty. But once you get a little bit outside, it's actually pretty nice.
Oh, that's amazing. But so let's jump right into it then. What made you fall in love with music? Was there a specific band, a singer, or anything at all? It could not have been a band. It could have been just something. What made you fall in love with music?
Um, I don't really know, to be honest, because I remember I got my first like toy electric guitar when I was 4, and there's still like some little pictures where on my birthday, on my 4th birthday, where I have this little plastic guitar, and I just loved the feel of it. I couldn't really play it; it was really like a toy guitar. But I just loved the feel, and just I was just always drawn to listening to music. I remember like my first memories are definitely the Beatles, having some songs that I heard that I still have like recollection of listening to the Beatles when I was like 4 or 5. And then I kept nagging my parents to buy me a guitar, and it took a little bit. And then eventually, when I was 8, they went ahead and bought me like a cheap acoustic guitar. Um, and then I have a brother who's 6 years older, who was very influential, like the music I would listen to. So he was also the one who took me to my very first concert when I was like 10 or 11, which was uh, Deep Purple, the reunion tour 5. So my first concert was like a big festival of 45,000 people.
With do you know
And
I
that kind of set the standard. And then I saw Queen the year
yeah,
after with Freddie Mercury.
yeah, sorry, because it
There's a
glitched in and
long
out.
delay right now, so I'm right.
Yeah, it's all
You're
good.
gonna ask?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I've excuse about the glitching and everything, because I didn't know it because you were talking and then it glitched and I was like, oh, is he finished? I don't know. Um, but my first ever concert was actually 2019, I think it was. I never really gone to any music concerts. And my very first one was Iron Maiden, in
Yeah.
Cardiff. And a lot of my mates, well, my friends are like, "Oh, that's the if you're gonna start off something awesome, you got to do it with Iron Maiden." But it was, but it was a day after the bombings of Manchester, that happened with, I think it was the Ariana Grande concert in the
Yeah.
UK, and it was just seeing it going from the streets of Cardiff to being nice and quiet to then seeing 6'5" big police officers with big assault rifles. It was just absolutely insane. But
I
then
bet.
but then Bruce Dickinson and the Iron Maiden band, they were just like, yeah, we're gonna rock on, we're gonna do our thing and we're gonna enjoy it. And it just completely overshadowed everything that was going on outside. So it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, but I tell you what as well, because you played the bass guitar. My grandfather on my dad's side, he was in a band and he played the bass guitar. And
Uh-huh.
I don't play bass, but I've got his old guitar in my bedroom, just like a little memento, because he left
Yeah.
it to me in his will, bless him.
Hmm.
But
Nice.
apparently, when he was young, when he was very young, there's an apparent picture somewhere that I gotta find, um, that's him jamming with the Who, and I was like,
Okay.
and I was like,
Nice.
How? How did this guy?
Right.
So, but I don't know. But he played bass guitar. He was in a band. I got a picture of him in his band, and that's one of the reasons. That was one of the reasons why I got you on the show because you played bass and everything. I was like, oh my God, I gotta get. I mean, I'm a fan of the band as well, except but I really wanted to get on and talk about the bass guitar. When did you pick up your first bass guitar?
I got my first bass when I was 13. So I first started with acoustic guitar, and then as I said, my brother had a big influence on me. He still does. He's a sound engineer here in Frankfurt with a bunch of people, and but he was very influential for me in the musical development. And when he joined the military, with back then we still had mandatory military service, with one of the first like whatever you call it, the money that you get. Um, he bought a Squire precision bass, like one of the cheaper models, and brought it home. And I was 13 and I picked it up because I had played electric guitar, but I was like I wasn't really good. I didn't really put a lot of effort in. It took me a long time till I started learning how to play chords, and I actually learned them from a Scorpion songbook. That's how I learned my guitar chords. But I was never really like that determined to learn or practice. And then my brother brought home this bass guitar, and I was like, oh my god, I love this. It was such a revelation of just, okay, I can wrap my head around this. It's like, maybe it's just one note at a time and just 4 strings, but I love the feeling of it. I just love the vibration, and just everything about it just spoke to me. And I was like, this is my instrument. And this is when I really started diving into it and just practicing. And then just around the same time, David Lee Roth released his first solo album after leaving Van Halen, and he had Billy Sheehan on bass, which whom I hadn't heard from before. But I was like, what is this? What's the bass doing on this album? And so I studied that, and so that's how Billy Sheehan became my basically my biggest influence. And he's with Mr. Big now, and then but he also plays with a bunch of people. But that was like the catalyst for me to like, oh, I want to know everything about this instrument.
Where did your introduction to heavy metal come into place then?
I basically that was like with my brother. He had we had a Judas Priest poster in a bedroom hanging. Funny enough, opening bands Def Leppard and Accept, and it was like I think the 1984 tour, if I remember correctly. So it's crazy, like how it all comes around. Like 40 years later, here I am playing in that band. But yeah, so it was Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, of course. Steve Harris was also always a big influence, and AC/DC, and but then shortly after I started focusing more on like virtuoso guitar players, I became like Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Paul Gilbert. That was more like what I started listening to, and I tried to transfer that onto the bass, and I kind of like, I even called myself lead bass. So I played lead bass, and then the bands I was in, they were always complaining that I played too much. But hey, also what you do when you're young.
Yeah,
And
I'll do it.
but that's how it all came about. So I was always drawn to first, yeah, the Who absolutely as well. John Ant was a big influence, and so those were like the first bands that I was into, and then later I was very much into like West Coast American bands, like whatever came out of LA, and that's what planted the seed for me to eventually like, I would love to be in LA one day, and that was just always there. And then at some point I just took a plunge and gave it a shot, and then I was lucky to get recommended for Uli John Roth, who was in the Scorpions in the 70s, and then I got a tour with him, and that opened doors for me to be able to stay in the States, establish residency. Now I'm dual citizen. I have an American passport as well as a German still. And yeah, and then fast forward 2019, I heard about Peter Baltus leaving Accept, and then I applied for the job, and then ended up getting it. So I always joke about I had to move from Germany to the United States to join a German band.
Big U-turn there. Did you feel, because you mentioned that when you were growing up, you listened to Accept, and there's always that it's like for a lot of people, right, that there are fans of individuals or bands or something. They go, oh yeah, I'm would it be funny if I played with that band, or would it be funny if I worked with that person, and then 10, 20 years, 30 years down the line, you stood side by side or with the people that you idolize. But when you first joined Accept, was it intimidating in any way? Because obviously Accept a big name and they've been going for years and years. Did you feel that intimidation, or did you feel like, this is awesome, I'm in this band, I'm part of Accept?
Both,
Oh,
because yeah, you are automatically a little bit intimidated, because as musicians, you still stay a fan of the band. because I mean that's how we get into music in the first place, because we love music and we love bands, and everybody's is a fan of someone. And then especially if you end up being in that band, you're like, yeah, there's a reason why I'm in it, because I put in the time and the effort, and of course there's a lot of luck involved. Of course, it's the right place, right time, and it just happened to uh, match up perfectly. But still, it's like you end up there, and sometimes you have to pinch yourself. I'm grooving along with Wolf Hoffman right now. This is crazy. But so you kind of have to tell yourself, hey, I'm here for a reason. They chose me because apparently I did something right, and I put in the time, and I came prepared, and I prepared myself for something like that. And it was a steady thing. I wasn't like, sometimes you hear stories with somebody really young gets thrown to a band, and it's then they're either a little overwhelmed or don't know how to handle it or whatever. For me, luckily, I got to say, it's been a slow but steady increase in like the bands that I played with, and the artists that I worked with. And so I've really feel like I grew into every step that I was able to take. And I mean, there's always steps where you're like, "Ooh, this is now I really need to focus." And Accept was definitely one of those steps. Where it's like, "Ooh, this is a big number."
Mm.
Um, and especially right after I joined the band, I wasn't supposed to play the first tour, the orchestra tour. They had somebody else already lined up because it was such a short notice, and Peter's departure was so sudden that they had somebody else secured. But then that person fell through, and so they approached me and said, "Can you learn the material to go on tour in 2 weeks?" And it was like 2 hours of like classical music meets Accept classic songs, and so it was a lot of stuff to learn in a very short time. But my very first tour with Uli John Roth was the same situation. There was kind of like the same thing. We need somebody, yeah, in a week and a half. And so I knew I was able to do it. Um, but they said, yeah, you can watch the Wacken concert, the big festival in Germany, where they played that show in 2017. And so I went on YouTube and started watching it. And I just saw the size of the stage and the amount of people. It was like 90,000 people in front of the stage. And I was like, I can't watch this right now. This is too big. Like my head's gonna explode. Let me just learn the music. Just learn the music and then go to rehearsal and play, and just step by step. And you have to really grow into it. So there is a certain degree of
Mm.
intimidation in it, but you have to just overcome it with confidence and preparation, and just tell yourself you'll be fine.
Do you know when you obviously because Accept they've done many songs in the past, most notably Balls to the Wall. Um, did it take short amount of time for you just to get into how they played as well, considering like, well, you know sort of you know the songs, but there's knowing the songs and then there's playing the songs as well. So did it take you a short period of time, a long period of time, or a reasonable amount of time to get into the style and the groove of the band?
It's interesting because there is definitely a difference uh, how things are being played by the original artists. Because I've covered Balls to the Wall and Metal Heart in the early '90s in cover bands here in Germany, and yeah, you just listen to them, learn them, and play them as you think, and then you start rehearsing with the actual band, and they're like, yeah, but that's not quite correct, and listen to this. Uh and then it's like even little things like micro timing. It's like, yeah, you gotta lean back a little bit, and in the verses you need to uh, uh hold back a little bit, and then the chorus you move a little bit forward, and you push a little bit more. And so it's the micro timing, and you pay way more attention to detail. And then the backing vocals too. I was kind of like singing how I sang in the cover band, and they were like, "Yeah, no, that's not how it goes." And then it's not balls to the walls, balls to the wall. I'm like, "Oh, okay." It's those little things that you learn in those moments. when you're actually with the band. But um, we record every show every night on multi-track, and they've been doing that for years. And so when I got the material to learn for the actual tour, actually for my first audition, and then for the tour, Wolf gave me the multi-tracks, and I was really able to solo Peter's bass and then also his vocals. So I was really able to like learn exactly what he played and what I was supposed to learn. So that helped a lot. But yeah, there's definitely a difference in quality and detail when
Hmm.
you play with the real thing.
Did you ever, well, when it came to obviously Wolf Hoffman, who has been in the band since practically day one, um, did he ever give you some brilliant any advice at all when you first came in? Did he ever say, "Listen, you could do this, or you could do that"? Does anything stick out in your mind?
Oh, absolutely, and still, I mean, we had some rehearsals last week too, and we actually took a little bit of time aside to just do a bass and drums, basically kind of like a groove playthrough, um, just to rehash some of the things that also kind of like get lost over time. Because I've been in the band now for 5 years as well. It doesn't feel as long because COVID was in between, and so I feel like it hasn't even been so long, but it's been over 5 years now. And in the beginning, he showed me a few more things. Then we also listened to some of the multi-track recordings together. Um, but I mean, Wolf is a fantastic musician. Of course, he's a guitar legend, but he's also really good on bass.
Hmm.
And uh, and then so if he shows me something, then I pay attention, and it's really useful stuff because I developed my own playing style over the years, but I had to learn a new playing style when I joined the band. I mean, funny enough, one of the first questions that he asked me, because he called me up, like the first contact was like he emailed me and said, "Hey, can we talk tomorrow? Can I call you?" And so the next day he called me, and then when I applied, I had already sent him like a whole list of like my references, my musical resume, basically photos, video links, stuff. And so he was more like interested in me, like what my current living situation is. I had just moved to Nashville, and so he was like, "So what do you do?" And I was like, "Well, just getting situated here, playing like local bars, and but I'm here now, and I'm actually looking for a band." And then he said that yeah, why don't you come over and we just chat, and I know you can play. I've seen it from the videos. Um, I just have two questions. Can you hang your bass lower? And can you play with a pick? And because most of my videos, because I am such a technical player and such a fan of like technical playing, and then especially the videos that I upload, it's kind of boring to show a bass player just playing like 8 notes for like 3 minutes. It's not fun to watch. So I have like some classical pieces or some solo pieces, and it's just ergonomically easier to play more challenging stuff if your instrument is hanging higher, because then your wrist's not bent like the not as much, so you have like it's just easier to play. That's why John Petrucci from Dream Theater, for instance, he has this diamond plate box on stage, and because when he gets into like really complicated solos, he puts his leg up that gets his guitar higher, so it's easier for him to play. And but so that's all that Wolf saw, and it's like that doesn't look cool. So I was like, I totally understand. I can hang my bass in front of my knees if you want, and yes, I can play with a pick, no problem. But then another secret of Accept's bass sound is that Peter just played super, super hard. And I usually had like always a pretty soft, a light touch when I play. But Wolf was like, no, you have to dig in. And so I play like really thick picks, and when I play, it's you feel it. And I break strings sometimes. I break the low E string, I broke the low A string, no, or the A string, and That's another secret of so those are things that I where I had to adjust my playing, and that's all because yeah, Wolf told me how the band or the sound that the band needs. So it's you learn something new every day.
Hmm. When it comes to doing concerts, doing gigs, etc., bit of a uh, sort of like a fun question for you. As well, it's like a bit of a two-part question. Is there a concert that really sticks out in your mind that was awesome? Like, oh my God, the crowds were incredible, we were incredible. That's part one. Part two was there any other, was there a concert that was uncomfortable for you in the sense of we're not getting the crowd or there's something not clicking? And that doesn't mean with Accept, that can mean in any
Hmm.
bands that you perform with.
So I was going to ask that if you limit that to Accept or
You
just in
know,
general.
just in general.
Um, I could yes to both. I mean, funny enough, with just the last concert we just played last Saturday, Hellfest in France. That was my biggest crowd that I played so far in my life. It was like 60,000 people. And but it was funny because at some point you don't even notice anymore how many more people you have. It's like when you have 5,000 or 10,000, or after that, it just becomes just a sea of people. But so that was definitely fun. Um, the first concert was very nerve wracking that I did with Accept because it was like with the classical orchestra, and that was a lot of pressure. But the good thing was they really carried me through, and we had a good preparation, even though it was just a short amount of time. Um, the one concert that sticks out for me in general was with the band that I had myself actually here in my hometown here in Germany, and it was a concert that we were playing on a Saturday night on one of these big city festivities. It's like three stages, like during the summertime, and we played like Saturday night. It was like prime time, and then we were playing, and then there was a song that I wrote, and then like the second chorus, the whole audience was singing along, and that was just a goosebump moment because I felt like this is something we built from absolutely total zero from scratch, and this band started to become a bit more successful, and then a song that I wrote, people sing it back to you. That just felt amazing. It felt extremely rewarding, and that is one of the concerts that really sticks out. Um, as for the other, like something where we couldn't get the crowd, usually when people come to a concert, they're usually into it. At
Mm.
least that's been my experience so far. There has been moments. I remember one time I was on tour um, with a band that I was live with when I was still living in Munich, and we were opening for Graham Bonnet, who was like singer for the Rainbow in the 80s. He was with Michael Schenker Group, and so we're going on tour on a European tour with him, and I felt like because he was a legend of like my youth, and I thought that's gonna be great. And then I don't know whoever booked it or however it was organized. It was like nobody knew we were on tour. There were like days and cities where we would play in front of like 30 people in a venue that fits like 500, and that was just so sad. That sticks in my head as like a negative. They were still, I mean, people still came. The people who came were still like into it, but it was like, yeah, just sad.
Mm. Do you know what? You reminded me of a time when I think I've told this story before a couple of times when I've spoken to other people on my podcast, and one of them was I wrote a comedy play, and me and my friend Lewis, who was the one who
Hmm.
suggested getting you on the podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Tell
and
them I say hi.
yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
We'll do. I'm rehearsing with him later on, actually. So
Cool.
I will tell him that. And
Awesome.
we we were doing a play in a art house theater, which is like 50 seats, 50 seated venue, and we had about 25 to nearly 30 people on one night. We did it for 3 days. That was on the first night. So we thought, oh my God, and everyone loved it because everyone was laughing. And then the following day, it plummeted to 4 people just turning
Mm,
up. And it was just like, and when you're doing a comedy as well, you really need the laughter
absolutely.
the
Yeah.
laughter to get the energy going. And oh, I envy, I envy comedians and comedic actors, etc., when they try to get the grasp of the humor and everything. And Lewis, he told me a time how with some people who were in bands and that, and they could be performing in pubs or whatever, and it could only just be 5 people in
Hmm.
attendance. And sometimes it could be so, and he said you can either use that as a tool of a way of, right, we performed here, this can't get any worse. Let's go up here. And
Right.
and I'm like, okay, and just move on and learn from it.
Right.
So it was just from when you were saying about the 500 people, and I was like, oh, that just reminds me.
Right. Now, and especially I think with comedy, it's even harder. I'm a big stand-up fan. I could
Mm,
never be on stage. First of all, I'm German, so I'm not funny. And second, I'm just a yeah, it's not my field. But I really admire that. And but that's the thing. It's like you usually the comics that I like, they feed off the energy of people and the feedback. And so to not have anybody in front of you, that must be. But I mean, you guys rehearse too, right? I mean, you
mm,
you stand in front of a mirror and rehearse. So I think because that's how I would always look at it. It's like if there's nobody there, it's like, well, let's just look at it like a paid rehearsal, or
yeah.
sometimes not even paid, but just rehearsal and just play through it and not let it bother you.
Mm,
But oh yeah, with comedy, I can imagine it's even harder.
yeah. Are you looking for the perfect bracelet for a loved one? Would your man be interested in a personalized keyring from his children? Are you looking for the best priced jewelry, whether it be a necklace, ring, earrings, bangle, or even more? Look no further than Crafted Arts. Crafted Arts is a local business based in Barry within the Vale of Glamorgan, and they have a range of all the perfect items you need. If it's for the perfect gift for an anniversary, or maybe it's for someone's birthday, maybe something for Christmas, or you wanted to give someone that perfect gift that will last a long time, Crafted Arts is the business for you. If you want to know more or see what they have in stock, then you can visit them locally at 29 High Street, Barry, Vale of Glamorgan, CF627EB, or you can go onto their website at www.craftedarts.co.uk. You could even email them at info@craftedarts.co.uk, or maybe just give them a call at 07789 94248. Trust me, it's worth it for the perfect gift. The best thing about Creative Space is that we don't just want to encourage people in being creative in TV, film, or even theatre. We also want you to be creative in a variety of other things as well. So do you want to have experience in making jewelry? Do you want to pick up a hobby but do not know what to take or where to start? Then look no further than the Vale Jewelry Workshops. Vale Jewelry Workshops provides the best experience in teaching you how to make the best sterling silver jewelry. They will help you make a range of silverware including rings, bracelets, and many more pieces. You will learn the basic silversmith skills such as soldering, texturing, shaping, and lots more. Not only do the workshops provide the experience for adults, it also provides the best experience and fun for children as well. So if you want to learn on how to make sterling silver jewelry, and if you're very interested, go onto their website at www.vailejewelryworkshops.co.uk or get in touch with them via email at info@vailejewelryworkshops.co.uk or even phone them at 07789 794248. When it comes to heavy metal bands, obviously there's a lot of famous ones in the UK, and there's a lot of big names and famous ones in the UK and in the US as well. But
Mm.
if you were to give top 5 countries that have the best heavy metal bands going and producing, what would you say are your top 5?
Um, Interesting because I would now not like pick particular bands. Um, but in countries, it's interesting. There's actually quite a few. Like there's a lot of Finnish bands, Sweden, Brazil has a strong metal scene, really passionate. It's really interesting also when you look at the different countries. Um, Even though they're very different, it's there's a lot of similarities
Mm.
within the country. What attitude they have, and that their personalities really shine through. And that's why, like as I said, like the Finnish or the Swedish bands, um, they're just a bit darker.
Mm.
Then when you go to South America, then they're just like passionate beyond belief, and you see that in the audience too. Um, Spain has a few uh, great bands. I saw them. That's it's more like I can't really recall names because sometimes it's also local bands that like
Mm.
when we play there, then they're like local openers that play before us when we're on tour, and it's amazing how good they are.
Mm.
But yeah, so um, that's all I would say. So it's Finland, Sweden, Norway, Brazil, Spain would be like the countries if we go outside of like UK and the United States. But
Mm.
it's just thanks. I think it's also thanks to the internet. Um, that it's just every country now has so many amazing musicians. I'm pretty sure that they have some amazing. I mean, baby metal comes from Japan. That stuff is insane. And but I'm pretty sure like you can find some amazing bands. I've worked with a singer on the cruise ships. He was from Nepal, and like literally the foothills of Mount Everest. And then you see his YouTube or Instagram videos with his band that he has at home, and amazing band. So it's crazy how you can find great music everywhere now.
Oh yeah, yeah. I the only reason I say that is because this me and Lewis were sat there once, and this is going back a few years ago. And I'm very eclectic when it comes to music. I wouldn't say that I have a very particular taste in one section. I would say I'm into more heavy metal, but I'm not like my friend Lewis who can. It was like an encyclopedia of oh my God, and
Uh-huh.
he dives into all the depths and meanings of these bands, etc. But
Yeah.
we were sat there, and this was going back, I think 2000 and I gotta say 2018 or 19 or something like that. And we were sat there doing rehearsal once, and he was just talking about all the bands in Germany, and I was like, how many freaking bands are there? I was like, how many? And he was like, what, you didn't know? And I was like, I was familiar with obviously Accept, but I was familiar with Ramstein, but that was it. I was like, how
Mm-hmm.
many?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, it's awesome. You got to go to Germany. I was like, well, that's on one of the top 5 lists I want to go to,
And you
Germany.
haven't been yet?
No, I mean,
Oh, you should.
oh, trust me. I mean, I know you've got the Euros over there, but it could have been if Wales had qualified for.
Right.
But regardless of football or anything, I need to go to Germany because it is one of those countries that I it's a must. It's
Yeah.
on the bucket list. Um, I got to tell you a very quick story about with German bands. Obviously, I got to mention Ramstein. When they did I can't remember how long ago it was, but when they did a concert in the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's a 70,000 stadium, and there was black smoke coming from because the stadium's got a roof, but it was all coming through, and the stadium is not far from suburban areas, so there was a lot
Yeah.
of neighbors going, "Oh my God, there's a fire!"
The
and they were
state is on
calling
fire.
they were calling up the fire services, and the fire department, the South Wales Fire Department were going, uh, yeah, that's a Ramstein concert,
Yeah.
and my friend Lewis was showing me videos of how they were using big flames
Oh,
just
yeah.
going up, and I'm just thinking, what a band!
Yeah.
Did you ever have any encounters with Ramstein? I,
I actually have. I mean, I've been a fan since the mid '90s,
mm,
and I saw them actually in my first concert where I saw them was I think '96 or something, '97 here in my hometown. At that time, they were still able to play inside in an arena of like 6,000 people. But at that time, he was already like with a flamethrower, and I remember I was like pretty central. I was not too far in the front. But then the Till Lindemann, the singer, just at some point he just came through on this big cart thing, just shooting flames and being pushed through, and this is just awesome. And then it was probably the same tour that you just mentioned. A couple of years ago, we were touring Europe again. It's like kind of like same similar thing we're doing right now. We were having festivals during the weekends, and then during the week we're basically off. And we were at a hotel in Frankfurt, and then Christopher Williams, our drummer, and he's a big Rammstein fan too. We both said, "Hey, let's go take a train to Hamburg and go see Rammstein." And it was a very similar situation what you just described. That there's the stadium of the Hamburger Sportverein, the local football team, and it was kind of like the same thing. Like there was black smoke coming out of and it's right on the path of the airport. So we had planes descending over the stadium, and I know they must have had just the best view, just looking down, and there's just flames coming out. It must have looked like they were looking inside the Mordor. That was insane. And so that's when I just went to go see them. And then a few months later, I was actually very lucky that they were touring the States. And then the lady who makes our custom in-ears, the audiologist, she was also asked to make the same, like the custom in-ears for Richard Kruspe, the guitar player. And she said, I'm going to go to a Rammstein concert and go backstage and check his ears and that kind of stuff, and want to come with me. And I'm like, hell yeah. And so I flew from Nashville to Boston and went backstage. And then actually we were backstage, and then I met Richard, the guitar player, and then we're able to watch the show and kind of like be backstage. But it's better to be like in front of the stage and really see it and get to look at it. But yeah, I mean, amazing what they accomplished, and how steadfast they stayed on their career path, and just same lineup from the get-go, and just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I always say you don't have to be a metal fan to enjoy Rammstein. It's just entertainment. It's basically Cirque du Soleil on steroids. But yeah, I'm a fan. I was actually I played in a band when I was still living in Germany. That's a similar style of music. They're called Eisbrecher, so icebreaker in German, and it's also kind of a very similar style. The singer has a similar kind of singing. It's also electronic heavy metal, or like heavy metal with like loops and the keyboards and stuff. So I like that style.
Another question when it comes to meeting big names. I mean, there's loads of big names in heavy metal. I mean, we could go through all of them, and some of them you could consider like the legends of all legends, the gods of all heavy metal, etc. But is there a band or an individual that sticks out to you when you've crossed paths with that individual and you've gone, oh my God, I've met X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, for instance, our producer of Accept is Andy Sneap. He's a guitar player for Judas Priest. And so when we were in Nashville, I had the chance to go see Judas Priest live. And then there was Rob Halford. And I mean, he's obviously a metal god. So at that moment, you stand there and you're like, wow, that's the guy. Or we did a Monsters of Rock cruise earlier this year. And so we played a show, and then at some point, we were done, and we ran back to our dressing room, and walked by two guys who were sitting at the side, and they were like, "Great show, mate." And I walked I was, oh, thanks. And then I walked back, and then the guitar player, Philip Charles, and I looked at each other. I was like, that was Steve Harris, bass player for Iron Maiden. And I'm like, let's get our phones, get some selfies. And so in that moment, you're just a fan. You know, you walk back and say, hey, would you mind? Can we take a photo? And of course, they're super cool.
Mm.
And so I got some photos with Steve Harris.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's for instance, or like as I said earlier, my biggest influence and hero is Billy Sheehan. And when I met him for the first time, that was kind of like I was an awkward little fan, and by now I've seen him a few times, and he actually knows my name now. And so we're kind of more like colleagues, but I'm still, it's still a weird feeling when you stand in front of him, just talking because we ran into each other in Chile because Mr. Big was basically always one day ahead of us on a South America tour. And but at one point in Santiago in Chile, they were just checking out from their hotel while we were just checking in. So we had a little chat in the lobby,
Mm.
and that those are the moments where you're like, that's surreal. So there's moments like that, and then there's musicians that are more like studio musicians, people that I admire more from a musical standpoint. That's not necessarily household names and stuff. But like one time I was hired to play a studio recording with Hal Blaine, and he was he's passed away by now, unfortunately, but he was the studio drummer in the 60s and 70s. So he's drummed for Elvis, Nancy Sinatra, Frank Sinatra. He's played on all the Beach Boys records and stuff. And like it's just a Sunday afternoon, and I get hired for this recording session at the studio in Palm Springs in California. And you're just there like it's nothing, you know. He's a drummer, I'm a bass player, that's the piano player, and we're just playing together. And then at some point, you're like, this is like I could be in an Elvis Presley session right now, which is strange.
When it comes to heavy metal, I don't know what it is, but me and again Lewis, shout out to Lewis. This
Hey, Luis.
episode's this episode is dedicated to Lewis John Arnold. But we were having a chat about this, and it was like a deep chat where you know, people who are into heavy metal, people who love heavy metal, and they show it with the look and the outfits that they
Yeah.
wear, the band's images, etc. There seems to be, probably not now, but back then there was like a stereotype of, oh, you know, oh, that's they're bad, they're evil, you know, because of the way it was all dark clothing, the way rock and roll is portrayed, and I'm just like. I'm just like, what the fuck? It's awesome, you know. And did you ever get growing up or even now, you know, some people just look at you and go, "Oh, you're promoting bad work," or you know,
You really have to look for people that say that,
yeah,
and those are the people I trust the least because they're usually the ones who, yeah, you have to be careful around. Like I don't want to step on anybody's toes here, but like
mm,
some Christian evangelists or like the ultra moral people that where you're like, I don't want to know what you do in your
mm,
spare time. I don't trust. I trust you the least. Um, it's really coming around now that metal fans are some of the
mm,
most helpful people. If you break down the side of the road, there's probably somebody going to be on a motorcycle stopping before anybody in a minivan
mm,
trying to help you. Um, Concerts, the same thing. I mean, yeah, it looks wild because the music's loud and there's a mosh pit, but there is no violence. There is no, people are not mean. It's just they're getting their energy out.
mm,
And if you don't want to be in it, then they're like, okay, no problem. We're gonna have our fun here. You're gonna have your fun there,
yeah,
and it's very respectful. Um, I've never seen. I don't recall ever seeing like a big brawl or like a fist fight, like violence
mm,
at a concert, at a heavy metal festival or something like that. And I think also what helped is that like the big festivals now, like Hellfest, like Wacken, are getting mainstream coverage now. and did you see how people actually act, and how peaceful those concerts actually are. And it really becomes this thing where it almost becomes a community event. Like
Mm.
old ladies are baking and cooking and offering food for the people. People open the private properties for people to park. It's this huge, like almost like what do you call it, like a county fair,
Yeah. County fair.
for yeah, uh for the weekend, and everybody's just having a good time. So I think
Mm.
it's really catching on. It's just a way of a cultural thing, and yeah,
Mm.
everybody has their outfits, and that's just part of it. But um I think it's hope it seems to be catching on now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's
We just look mean.
yeah. Well, that's the thing, because the prime examples I use when people, not like what you're saying, like people of faith that go, oh, this one. It's like some
Yeah,
people who are even not a fan of metal at all, and they're like, oh,
right.
they're just nasty people. I'm like, hang on a minute, right? And I'm going to give two examples here. Bruce Dickinson, right? That
Yeah.
guy does his own brewery. He flies his own plane. He's a well-educated man, and I bet if you were to see him in the streets and you go up and say, hey, Bruce Dickinson, he'd be the first person to go, hi, how are you? And probably ask how you were. How
Mm,
you are, and you know that's number one, and number two, James Hetfield of
hmm.
Metallica. He's a
Yeah,
bee farmer. He looks after bees, you know,
yeah,
and I'm thinking, what bad person does that? Come on.
yeah. Lots of musicians are vegan.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I really noticed, because I've been a vegetarian for 16 years now,
Mm,
and uh and so that was like one of my first things, like, so how's it gonna be on the road, catering and stuff. And I just noticed how many people are vegetarians or vegans because they care for animals, they care
mm,
for nature, they care for our planet, and that's it's literally being catered for by um by the festivals, by the concerts. Like it's a thing now where we need to take care of
mm.
our planet, our fellow creatures, and be mindful.
Yeah.
And that's definitely um, something that you see in art, before you see it in like mainstream. And I
Mm.
think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, yeah. Agree. Absolutely agree. It's like I'll tell you another thing, right? Because I'm a lover of dogs. I'm a big
Hmm.
massive dog lover.
If you don't love dogs, there's something wrong with
Yeah.
you. You're a bad
Oh,
person.
why? I'm going to tell you a story there, Martin. I'm going to tell you a story. So I got two French bulldogs. Well, my mum and dad have got two French bulldogs. And my first one we called Charlie. I call her Charlie Bear. She's such a little bear, little teddy bear
Nice.
she is. She was during COVID, my dad's friend went to a dog breeding farm and saw
Hmm.
what was going on there, and he was absolutely not having any of it. And
Appalled, yeah. Yeah.
he was
Like
really
the
appalled.
puppy mills.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
stole. Well, I did. We say rescue, but no, he stole
Nice.
one or two of the Frenchies, and one of them he called up my dad, my mum and dad one night, and my mum and dad were drunk. They were like, "Oh, what?" And they went, "Oh, do you fancy a dog?" And they were like, "Yeah, why not?" So the following day, they completely forgot what happened. There's a knock on the door, and next you know, there's this there's this skin and bone little French bulldog, completely terrified, and my dad just looking and goes, "What the fuck is that?" And then now she's just a daddy's girl, such a
Hmm.
daddy's girl. And
Hmm.
he's like, if I and my dad, he always said to me, I never thought I would actually be filled with joy just to have a dog around, you know, and have
Hmm.
another purpose. And he said, if I find that breeding farm, I swear to freaking God. I'm like, Dad,
Hmm.
I believe you. And then another one, which we've only just got as well, his name's Pablo. And yeah.
Charlie and Pablo, let's go.
Yeah, Charlie. Don't don't get me started because I said that to my mum and dad. I was like, Charlie, Pablo. I was like, oh, really? And the way we got Pablo was my mum and my little sister, they were going to Greece for a wedding, and my dad worked on night, so they couldn't really look after Charlie. So what what they did, they put her into like a little dog um holiday camp kind of thing where she
Hmm.
was properly looked after and everything. And the woman, I don't know her name, but I will find out more. And whoever she is, she's doing a fantastic job. Um, there was another dog called Pablo, another French bulldog, 18 months, and they
Same name, Pablo too. Oh,
no. So our Charlie
yeah.
met little Pablo.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And they got to know each other well. But the owners of Pablo before us came back from holiday. I think they came back from holiday, and they basically called the woman up and said, "We don't want anything to do with it, with Pablo. We don't
Hmm.
want him back." And so she was like, "Well, no, you're gonna have to take him back. I can't look after him because I got this business to run and everything. I got other dogs to look after." And they were like, "No, we don't want him back. We don't want him back." So so then she called up my mum and dad and explained the situation, and she went, "I don't know what to do." And fair play to my mum
Hmm.
and dad, they were like, "We'll take him.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll take him." But oh yeah, but we don't care. We'll take Pablo. And
Wow.
and it turns out my mum and dad are the fourth. He's 18 months, and my mum and dad are the fourth owners of Pablo. And I
Okay.
and I said to my dad, "You better not get rid of Pablo. It's not fair. If you get
Hmm.
fed up, it's not fair." And he was like, "No,
Hmm.
Rhys, they're staying regardless.
Hmm.
If we run low on money, they're staying regardless. I'd rather feed them than feed me." And I was like, I'll keep your words in that.
That's nice.
I
But
know.
is it that they're doing well?
Oh, they're doing absolutely fantastic. Is Charlie is the thing about Charlie, she gets very I don't know if it's protective or jealous, and sometimes when she sees new people, she tends to go for the toes or whatever. And we try
Hmm.
to stop her from doing that. But ever
Hmm.
since Pablo's come about, Pablo's been very protective of the people that do come in, regardless of who they are. And
Hmm.
it's like he does stop Charlie from doing that sort of thing. It's like, no,
Okay.
don't do that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a blessing.
Right.
And he's so funny. He's like, he's just very happy. He's very playful. They're both playful, and they're like, they want to see, and then they lay on their backs and on their belly rubs all the time. And I just love them. I absolutely adore them. It's just any
They're
dog
they're they're a, they're a funny breed for
yeah,
sure too. They're funny to look at.
yeah. Oh, but it's just when they're smiling when they're upside down, they're like that.
Yeah.
Just just
Right.
I know. And but no, I wouldn't uh swap them, replace them for the world. They are absolutely. I think they've been a blessing to have in the family. Um,
I bet.
because it gets my dad out of the house, it gets my sister out of the house, it gets my mum out of the house, and it gives them something to keep doing stuff. All right, they work and everything, and there's like the age gap between me and my sister. There's 13 years, so
Hmm.
she's a teenager, but she is like such a big, proper big cuddly sister to the dogs. It's incredible, absolutely incredible.
Nice.
But I've always
That's
been a
so awesome.
bulldog
Yep.
fan.
Yeah.
I've
My,
always
my
been
my best friend in the States, he's got five American bulldogs.
never.
So that's a lot.
I've
So
a lot.
I because I travel so much, I can't have any pets right now. It wouldn't be
Mm,
fair. So I just decided, but I get my fix when I go over there.
mm,
So and my he also builds those. He came up with the idea for his dogs to make carriers for motorcycles to safely put your dog on a bike and then you can ride the dogs around. And so he turned that into a business. So we do that. So we ride motorcycles all over Tennessee and take the dogs out that way. So it's a lot of fun.
That's
It's
amazing.
actually it's not easy to have like a 80, 90 pound dog behind you because you can feel it and then they're happy and they're looking left and right and you're on the bike like, oh, stop wiggling. It's fun. It's fun.
With
I
the
love it.
helmet on their heads going like that.
Not a helmet, but goggles.
Oh God, I love it.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it.
You need to protect the eyes, of course.
Last question for you now, Martin, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I've really enjoyed this,
Oh,
and
thanks for having me.
no,
I was honored when you contacted me, and I was like, oh, how do you know about me?
but the question I always ask people at the end of my podcast is a pretty straightforward question, and that is, how do you look back on your career?
Um, well, definitely with gratitude. I'm very thankful that I was able, or I am able to do what I love for a living. I'm kind of like a late bloomer. I was not courageous enough in the beginning when I was first starting. So I actually took a pretty conventional path first. When I finished high school, first I started working at a bank. Went through job training for a bank to be a banker, and I even worked for another 2 years. And then at one point, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. My mom. It's just funny. My mom just earlier told me the one thing that sticks in her head is like, I cannot. I cannot screw over people, selling them stuff that they don't need just to make a company money. And that's one of the reasons why I quit. But then I was still not courageous enough to do music full time. So I signed up for university, and I actually graduated. I got a business degree because I'm not a quitter. And and I was like, this can always be useful and stuff. But in the meantime, I was always making music and trying to make it with my own bands. And then at some point, I realized if you don't really happen to run into the right people that have the same dream, the same passion, and that they're willing to sacrifice everything for the band and for that mutual dream, then you can't make it. And it happened twice to me that I started an original band, and then people in the beginning, they were all for it, but then they stick with their careers, or they meet a girl and then they get married and they want to have kids and they want to do that, which is great. But for me, it was always like, I don't want to do that. I really want to do music full time and be successful and do it for a living, not as a hobby. And so eventually I made the decision of, okay, I'm not going to pursue an original band anymore. I'm just going to be a hired gun and a little bit like how would I say this? I was always looking for like what's the next bigger band that I would be able to join, and that's kind of like how I raised or came up with my in my career, like with playing with different bands. And so I think 31 or 32 when I eventually said, you know what, if I don't try it full time now, if I don't try it now, like full time, I'm never going to do it. And that's when I decided to go to the United States, and that was 16 years ago. And then ever since then, that's when it actually picked up. So it was like already in my early 30s when I even started doing it. So I'm a little bit of a late bloomer, but I've been able to catch up, luckily. So now being in Accept is like this. That's huge. That's almost like a life dream, or a life goal to make it in a band like this. But I'm still not done. I'm still looking forward to the things that I had. But definitely looking at it as with gratitude, but also with a sense of accomplishment, because I sacrificed a lot. I started over 4 times basically. I moved to Munich. I was hoping in the bigger city like that there would be a better music scene, but I couldn't get a foothold there. Then I moved to LA all by myself. Then was there for a couple of years, and there was the financial crisis, 2009, 2010. A lot of tours that I would promise to me fell through, and then LA was like just too expensive. And then at that time I was already married, and then we decided, let's go to Vegas, because I knew some people. I knew a handful of musicians in Vegas who moved there, and they said there's work there and it's cheaper. But still, you move to that new city and then you start over again. And then I was in Vegas for 6 years, did that for a while. Then the marriage fell apart. Worked on cruise ships, and then my best friend, my motorcycle rider friend, he lives near Nashville, and he said you should give Nashville a try. And that was the 4th time I started from scratch, and it's hard. It's like you give up, you complete social circles, you make friends, and then you're like, okay, I need to move on. You make new connections, and there's a lot of sleepless nights where you're like, oh, I hope I get enough gigs and enough work and that kind of stuff, and it's stressful, but that's why I feel like I feel very blessed and happy and grateful, but I also feel like, well, I worked for it. So I look at it also with a sense of accomplishment. But yeah, that's where I'm right now. But I still hope I have another couple of decades ahead of me doing the same thing.
Are you looking for the perfect bracelet for a loved one? Would your man be interested in a personalized keyring from his children? Are you looking for the best priced jewelry, whether it be a necklace, ring, earrings, bangle, or even more? Look no further than Crafted Arts. Crafted Arts is a local business based in Barry within the Vale of Glamorgan, and they have a range of all the perfect items you need. If it's for the perfect gift for an anniversary, or maybe it's for someone's birthday, maybe something for Christmas, or you wanted to give someone that perfect gift that will last a long time, Crafted Arts is the business for you. If you want to know more or see what they have in stock, then you can visit them locally at 29 High Street, Barry, Vale of Glamorgan, CF62 7EB, or you can go onto their website at www.craftedarts.co.uk. You could even email them at info@craftedarts.co.uk, or maybe just give them a call at 07789 94248. Trust me, it's worth it for the perfect gift. The best thing about Creative Space is that we don't just want to encourage people in being creative in TV, film, or even theatre. We also want you to be creative in a variety of other things as well. So do you want to have experience in making jewelry? Do you want to pick up a hobby but do not know what to take or where to start? Then look no further than the Vale Jewelry Workshops. Vale Jewelry Workshops provides the best experience in teaching you how to make the best sterling silver jewelry. They will help you make a range of silverware, including rings, bracelets, and many more pieces. You will learn the basic silversmith skills such as soldering, texturing, shaping, and lots more. Not only do the workshops provide the experience for adults, it also provides the best experience and fun for children as well. So if you want to learn on how to make sterling silver jewelry, and if you're very interested, go onto their website at www.valegewelryworkshops.co.uk or get in touch with them via email at info@valegewelryworkshops.co.uk, or even phone them at 07789 794248.